Adam Newman didn't just feel something was wrong, he knew it. The moment he realized Nick wasn't answering his phone, a cold wave of panic hit him hard, not the usual irritation, not brotherly annoyance. This was different. This was fear. Within seconds, Adam's mind started racing. Nick wasn't careless. He didn't just disappear. And in a place like Las Vegas, disappearing meant danger. Adam's jaw tightened as he stormed down the hallway, dialing again. No answer. Again, nothing. Then he turned sharply toward Riser's suite. And that's when everything started to spiral. Riser Thompson barely had time to react before Adam started firing questions. Where was Nick? Who had she sent him to meet? Why wasn't she answering sooner? Riser's confusion quickly turned into anger. She had no idea what Adam was talking about. And the more Adam pushed, the more it felt like he was accusing her. Then came the moment that snapped everything. Riser raised her hand and slapped Adam across the face. The sound echoed through the suite. For a split second, everything froze. Adam didn't react right away. He just stood there absorbing it, breathing hard, eyes darkening. But when Riser tried to swing again, Adam caught her wrist mid-air, tight, controlled, dangerously calm. Enough, he said, his voice low but sharp. This isn't a game anymore. Riser struggled, furious, humiliated, but something in Adam's tone made her pause. Because he wasn't bluffing, Nick was in trouble, and suddenly, whatever fight they were having didn't matter anymore. Adam released her arm slowly, but didn't step back. Instead, he leaned in slightly, voice urgent now. If we waste one more second, we could lose him. That's when Riser's anger cracked. Just enough for reality to sink in. Something had gone terribly wrong, and whether she liked Adam or not, she was now part of this. Back in Genoa City, the tension was just as explosive, just more controlled on the surface. At the athletic club, Kyle Abbott wasn't in the mood to play nice. He walked straight up to Victor Newman's table, eyes locked, posture rigid. No hesitation, no respect. Why aren't you celebrating? Kyle asked coldly. Isn't this what you wanted? Breaking Jack and Diane apart? Victor didn't even flinch. He simply looked up, calm, almost amused. You give me too much credit, Victor replied, but Kyle wasn't buying it. Not for a second. The accusation hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Victor leaned back slightly, his gaze sharpening. Maybe, he added, you should stop pretending your father is some kind of saint. That was it. That was the spark. Kyle's expression hardened instantly. You're a coward. He shot back. The words landed hard, even in a place like the GCAC, where power and ego ruled. That crossed a line. Victor's eyes darkened. Slowly, deliberately, he stood up. You should watch your mouth, Victor warned, voice dangerously low. No yelling. No dramatic gestures. Just pure threat. And if I don't? Kyle challenged. For a moment, it felt like the entire room held its breath. Victor stepped closer, just enough to make his presence felt. You won't like what happens, he said quietly. The message was clear. This wasn't over, not even close. Kyle held his ground, but only for a second longer. Then he turned and walked away, tension still radiating off him. Because deep down, he knew Victor meant every word. Not long after, Nikki Newman approached Victor's table, and unlike Kyle, she didn't come in angry, she came in disappointed. Which somehow hit even harder. You crossed a line, Nikki said softly but firmly. Victor didn't hesitate. You crossed it first, he fired back. Just like that, the emotional distance between them widened. Nikki tried to reason with him, tried to make him see what he had done, but Victor wasn't listening. He was defending, justifying, twisting the narrative until Nikki became the one at fault. You sided with Jack, Victor reminded her, his tone sharper now. You made your choice. The words stung. Because this wasn't just about business or power anymore, this was personal. Nikki's eyes filled with frustration and something deeper, hurt. I was trying to do what was right, she insisted. Victor shook his head. No, he said, you were betraying me. Silence fell between them. Heavy, uncomfortable, final, and for the first time, it felt like their marriage wasn't just strained. It was cracking. Elsewhere, Diane Jenkins Abbott was barely holding herself together. Sitting at Society, she replayed everything in her mind. Every argument, every accusation, every moment that led to this. And it all pointed back to one person, Victor Newman. When Michael Baldwin sat down across from her, he didn't need to ask what was wrong, it was written all over her face. He did this, Diane said, her voice tight with emotion. Michael listened quietly as she laid it all out, the yacht drama, the manipulation, the fallout with Jack. "And you're still standing by him?" she asked, looking straight at Michael. That question hit differently, because it wasn't just about Victor, it was about loyalty. Michael chose his words carefully. "There's always a way forward," he said gently, "especially when love is involved." But Diane shook her head. "Not this time. Not anymore. I'm not ready to forgive Jack," she admitted, and the way she said it made it clear that forgiveness wasn't coming anytime soon. At the Abbott house, Kyle was pacing, restless, frustrated, angry. Tracy Abbott watched him carefully, concern written all over her face. "What happened?" she asked. Kyle didn't hold back. He told her everything, Victor's attitude, the threats, the ongoing war. But beneath all of that was something deeper, fear. "I don't think Mom is going back to Dad," Kyle admitted. The words hung heavy in the air. Tracy's expression softened, because she knew how much that would destroy Jack, and Kyle too. "This isn't just another fight," Kyle continued. "It feels final," and for the first time he didn't sound angry, he sounded defeated. At Crimson Lights the mood was quieter, but no less emotional. Tessa Porter sat across from Daniel Romalotti Jr., trying to find the right words. He was excited, talking about Barcelona, the plans, the future, but Tessa couldn't match that energy. "Not anymore. I don't think I should go," she said finally. Daniel blinked, caught off guard. Tessa took a breath. "I need to stay, for Mariah." The honesty in her voice made it impossible to argue. Still, it changed everything. Daniel nodded slowly. "I get it," he said. And he meant it. But that didn't make it easier, because something between them shifted in that moment. Subtle, but real, they stood up and embraced. Not as lovers. Not quite as strangers. Something in between. Uncertain, complicated. And just as they pulled away, Phyllis Summers saw everything. Her eyes narrowed instantly. She waited until Tessa left, then moved in. "What was that?" she demanded. Daniel didn't even try to explain. Instead, he turned the focus right back on her. "You don't get to ask me that," he said coldly. Phyllis blinked, surprised. "What are you talking about?" Daniel stepped closer. "You lost that right," he continued. "The moment you chose power over family." The words cut deep. But Phyllis wasn't backing down. "I'm trying to fix things," she insisted. Daniel shook his head. "No, you're trying to control things." Silence. Then came her offer, a position at Summers' conglomerate. A chance to rebuild something together, but Daniel didn't hesitate. "No, one word. Final. We don't have anything to talk about," he added. "Not unless you're ready to walk away from everything you took." Phyllis froze, because she knew exactly what he meant. The Newman Empire, her biggest win, and possibly her biggest mistake. As Daniel walked away, Lauren Fenmore Baldwin stepped in quietly. She had seen enough to understand. "You okay?" Lauren asked gently. Phyllis tried to hold it together, but her voice cracked. "I'm losing him," she admitted. And this time, she couldn't deny it. Because Daniel wasn't just angry, he was done. Across town, Michael Baldwin found himself caught in the middle. Again, he knew Diane was hurting, he knew Victor was pushing things too far, and for once, even he couldn't justify it. Loyalty had limits, and Victor might have crossed them. Meanwhile, back at the Abbott house, Tracy stayed close to Kyle, trying to keep him grounded, trying to give him hope, but the truth was, she felt it too. Something was breaking, and it might not be fixable, but back in Las Vegas, the clock was ticking. Adam stood near the window, tension radiating off him. Riza was behind him, arms crossed, still shaken. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Because they both knew, time was running out. Nick was out there, alone, in danger, and every second they wasted made things worse. Adam finally turned. "We find him," he said, "no matter what it takes." Riza hesitated, then nodded. Because now, this wasn't about trust, it was about survival, and as the storm continued to build across every corner of their lives, one question remained. If everything is already falling apart, what happens when there's nothing left to save?